The world just witnessed a meeting that could reshape the balance of global power. Behind closed doors, President Trump and President Putin have spoken. And now the question is, what really happened? And why does it feel like Ukraine has been pushed to the sidelines? Welcome back to Shadows of Strategy, where we break down the hidden moves and power plays shaping our world. The Trump-Putin summit has sent shockwaves through global politics. Unlike the usual diplomatic theater, this meeting was held with unusually tight secrecy. No detailed press releases, no long joint statements. Just short remarks, vague promises, and an uneasy silence that has left allies guessing. What's clear, however, is that Washington and Moscow may have quietly found common ground. And that has left Kyiv deeply unsettled. For years, Ukraine has relied on U.S. backing as its lifeline against Russian aggression. Billions in military aid, diplomatic support, and sanctions against Moscow have been pillars of Kyiv's survival. But the optics of this summit tell a different story. Trump and Putin appeared focused on broader geopolitical issues, arms control, oil markets, and even tentative cooperation in the Middle East, while Ukraine barely surfaced in their public remarks. To many observers, this looked like a sidelining of Kyiv's most urgent concerns. Inside Ukraine, the reaction has been tense. President Volodymyr Zelensky held emergency consultations with his military and security chiefs immediately after the summit. Leaks from those meetings suggest deep anxiety that Washington may be preparing to reduce its military and financial commitments. For a country already stretched thin by war, the possibility of fading U.S. support is alarming. In Moscow, the mood was strikingly different. Russian state media portrayed the summit as a victory, with pundits openly speculating that Trump is willing to ease tensions in exchange for cooperation on global flashpoints. One Russian lawmaker even hinted that a new understanding had been reached, though without specifics. The Kremlin, as always, thrives on ambiguity. In Washington, the fallout is dividing political circles. Hawks in Congress are furious, accusing Trump of sacrificing Ukrainian interests to cut a deal with Putin. But others, particularly those weary of endless financial aid to Kyiv, are quietly backing the president's approach, arguing that America's priority should be confronting China, not getting trapped in a prolonged European conflict. Meanwhile, Kyiv's fears may not be misplaced. If U.S. focus drifts away, Europe will face the burden of supporting Ukraine more directly. Already, some EU members struggling with inflation, energy shortages, and domestic unrest are signaling fatigue. That leaves Ukraine caught in a dangerous middle ground, uncertain of whether it can truly rely on the West. At the same time, Russia is moving quickly to capitalize. Within days of the summit, Moscow announced fresh troop rotations and renewed offensives in eastern Ukraine, testing Kyiv's defenses and Western resolve. Russian analysts argue that if Washington is softening, it creates an opportunity for Putin to press harder militarily. This isn't just about Ukraine. This summit signals a bigger realignment in global strategy. Trump appears determined to end what he calls America's endless commitments, focusing instead on restructuring the U.S. economy and confronting China as the primary rival. For Putin, that means an opening to solidify gains in Eastern Europe while bargaining for sanctions relief. The unanswered question is whether Ukraine will be left behind. Without strong U.S. backing, its ability to sustain resistance could weaken. But Zelensky is not standing idle. He is already reaching out to European leaders, seeking emergency guarantees of financial and military support. Reports suggest Kyiv is also considering closer ties with Turkey and even exploring new defense purchases from Asian partners to diversify away from Washington. The suspense now lies in what comes next. Was this summit the first step toward a grand bargain between Washington and Moscow? One where Ukraine becomes a bargaining chip? Or was it simply an exploratory meeting, with both sides testing the waters? One thing is clear: the ground beneath Ukraine is shifting, and in geopolitics. Being sidelined can sometimes be as dangerous as being targeted.